Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to listen to some mumbly jumbly. All the way from St. Albans, your host for tonight, Abs the Magic, Supercoach Godfather.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining. Now, in today's episode, we're going to talk about yesterday's practice games. Well, if you're watching this on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, it was Friday's practice game, so just calm it down. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. It's on the title anyway. Now, there were some interesting results, or interesting scores, yesterday, and there are some very, very important things to note. Now, you're going to hear in a lot of chat forums, people saying, "Don't watch one practice game and then make a call." Well, hello, there's only one practice game this year. How else are you going to make a call? We don't have much information. What are you going to go by? The week before, where we had bad camera work, we couldn't even see the players, or this week, whether we could sort of see a role. You got to make a decision. You can't just say don't go by the practice games. What are you going to go by? There's not much more information. You got to go by the information you got in hand. Okay. There are going to be some players that you thought or you taught were going to be good, but it looks like maybe they're not. There are players that I've been boasting that should be good, should be in your teams. Now, I'm thinking maybe I was wrong. Players like Yo. I mean, I watched him yesterday. He just didn't look good. And there are players like Sheed, and like my thinking was he played a lot of half forward roles, so he's going in the midfield this year. He's going to have more midfield time. He should get more. He should get more points. Well, some people or some players are just not naturals in that midfield, and you look at Sheed in that midfield. He couldn't get his hands on the ball. You look at players like Gulden, who also is a forward that got into the midfield. He's a natural. So it's horses for courses, as they would say. Just calm it down. All right, let's get on with the reviews. Okay, the first game we're going to review is going to be that West Coast game, West Coast and Adelaide. Yeah, I watched a lot of this game. I was sort of switching in between the Sydney game because I wanted to watch my my boy Gulden. Well, he wasn't even in my team, so I can't claim him to be my boy, but he's my fellow countryman. Okay, so just calm it down. He's my boy too now. So I was watching the West Coast Eagles Adelaide game. All right, the player that caught my eye. All right, besides Laird, who always catches our eye, well, the player that caught my eye was Gimby. He looked so good, composed. He was just good. His kicking efficiency, handball efficiency, spot on. He was going at 100 at one stage. I don't know what he finished on, but it was actually finished on 88. That's very high. All right, that's brilliant. He only had 56% time on ground, so he hardly played. He only played half a game, and he still scored 99. Okay, if we can score 70, we're happy. Okay, 70, we're happy. 99 and 56% time on ground, we're very happy, okay? Just calm it down. So, I think Gimby, just lock him into your D4, D5, D6, wherever you want to put him, okay? It better not be any higher than that because you're going to be in trouble. So, I've got him currently at D5, all right? And I was very impressed. Now, let's keep going. Who else is Supercoach relevant? So, some people like McGovern, okay? I heard some people talking about McGovern after this game. Well, you're going to know that McGovern is going to be very up and down. He has high scores and low scores depending on intercept marks. Well, he had 17 kicks and 8 handballs, okay? So he's not a player that I would have. But because you get a player not for 1 week or 2 weeks, but you get a player that's going to last you for the whole year. Now, when some people say don't go by the practice games, McGovern is a good example of that, okay? But when someone says don't go by practice games and you say Gimby, that's a bad example. Because Gimby, you have to go by the practice games because you don't see him any other time, okay? But McGovern is a different story. So there is merit to it when people say don't just follow a practice game and pick a player. There is merit to that, okay? With the McGovern call or the Cox call yesterday or the day before. But Ginby's a different story. Now, keep going. Let's keep looking at the West Coast team. Who else is Supercoach relevant that we should be looking at? Well, I'm looking for them, okay? Hunt was a player of interest. Don't get interested, okay? I hardly saw him. He had 16 touches, but I hardly saw him. All right, he must have been every time I switched to the other game. He must have had a touch. I think I just saw him once, and he was going for a dash, and he looked slow. And this is Hunt. He's supposed to be fast, and he got caught. So I'm not sure about Hunt. He scored 77. Had to kick a goal to get to that. He was actually a lot lower than that, and he didn't impress me at all. He looked lost. It wasn't a game that I was expecting from him. Only 15 touches, and this is from a player playing in the midfield. 70% time on ground, well, 67% was similar to 70, and 70% disposal efficiency, but it just wasn't the Yo that I knew. So I don't know, at 300k, do you get a play like Yo, or do you pay 170k and get a play like Ginby? So that's the thing you got to think about. Who's got more value here? And Sheed is another one. You pay 300k for a player like Sheed, or 320k, and you can get a rookie at 120k or 150k who could do just as good. Like a Phillips will probably do what a Sheed does. So that's another thing to think about. When you pay 300k, you want hundreds. Okay, you want the player to break out. So it's going to be a good stepping stone to a primo, all right, or even 90s, but comfortable 90s, not just 88 struggling to get to 90. You want a 95. You want a comfortable 90. So Sheed and Yo, I've kicked him out of my team. They're gone. They packed their bags last night. They left. I said bye, go, don't look back, and they left. They weren't happy, but they had no choice. The coach at Abs Magic wasn't happy, so they're gone. Now Kelly, he's no longer Supercoach relevant. He was at Geelong, but never at West Coast. And who else was there? That Supercoach relevant, Oscar Allen. Okay, I warned you about Oscar Allen. He actually had a good game. Well, 9 touches is a good game for a full forward, and 50 points, kicked 1 goal, could have kicked 2, could have got 60 points. Just say, all right. He's a good player. He's a gun, all right, and he looks really good. The problem is his role is going to be up and down. You're going to have 100s and then you have 50s, like you just saw there. So, can you handle those 50s in your forward line? That's the question. 200k, he's not cheap. Well, he is cheap, but he's not cheap. Okay, just come it down. So, yeah. Who else? Gaff, you can forget about him. He looks terrible. Now, Chess is the interesting one. He had 66% time on ground, and he scored 61. He looked better last week, okay, but this week he didn't look that good. Only scored 34 Supercoach points. That's not enough to put on field. So he's a player that you put on your bench, and just to make it casual, he's going to score a 71 week, a 40, a 50, but not a 34. That's not good. Okay, Hewitt, we didn't see much of. Actually, Hewitt, 50% time on ground. Well, I didn't see much of him. He had 50% time on ground. Are you kidding me? No, 31%. Okay, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Sorry. 31% time on ground. Okay, that's why we didn't see him. Which a whole quarter he virtually played. Had 1 kick, 1 handball in a whole quarter of football. And he was fresh. And now he's a possible sub chance. So is Chesser. They're both possible subs, okay? So be careful of both to put them on field. Very dangerous, which now makes the defensive line looks scarier because we're running out of players to put on field. Although we just found one in Ginby, Chesser's a problem now, okay? But you need him for your bench at least, and he's got DPP, so it's handy. Okay, we look at Adelaide, and I must admit they look good. Okay, but then again, the opposition was West Coast, and West Coast looked very rusty. Okay, but Adelaide, Laird did what Laird does. Okay, went 150, went nuts, kicked 2 goals in that 150. Okay, so let's just say he kicks no goals, looking about 130. It's still good enough. Okay, so Laird's gonna. I mean, you're paying 700k for Laird. He's giving you scores what you expect. All right, so you can't complain. Okay, Laird's not a trap. Okay, but Laird is expensive, so it depends on your team structure if you can afford him. That's the way Laird works. Now, who else is Supercoach relevant here? Dawson. All right. Now Dawson went at 105, Uh, the interesting thing to note here, had 23 kicks and 3 handballs. That's huge. Kick to handball ratio is unbelievable. It's out of this world. Okay, it is sensational. And scored a 105. He looks good. Okay, his role. I mean, you gotta understand also. West Coast didn't attack as much. Didn't hardly went into the forward 50, and still for him to score 100 is a good effort. Because it's very rare that a defender can score points when the ball doesn't go into the defensive area. But he did okay. Riley O'Brien, I was actually disappointed. Okay, have a look at the hitouts. Riley O'Brien, 35 hitouts for 103, and he played against who? Callum Jamison. That's not good enough. Okay, he should have smashed Callum Jamison. He should have gone 130, 140. So I was a bit scared of Riley O'Brien. Ben Keys, I wasn't happy with. You can forget about Ben Keys. Don't put him in your team. Okay, if you're thinking about Ben Keys, look at the score and you say, wow, he scored 94, looked okay. No, he kicked 4 goals. He played forward. It's not good enough. Wrong role, bad role for him. Let's keep going down. Who else? Sam Berry, that's another one. Yeah, he had what did he have? He had 70% time on ground. I don't know, Sam Berry, he had a lot of time on ground. He's not going to be a primo, okay? And he's an awkward price, so I'm not touching him. I mean, good for draft, okay? Actually, I got him in my draft team, so he's okay for draft. Now let's keep going down. Who else looked good? Rankin, Rochelle. I mean, they had a different role. Rochelle did anyway. Rochelle played a lot of 80% time on ground. Had a lot of midfield minutes, but didn't do much. Okay, another player that's good for draft. Again, I got him in my draft team as well. I got lucky. Okay, well, I wouldn't say that lucky. He's not like the best, but he was okay. I got him last round pick. Who else we got? Pedler was on the radar for some people. Well, he scored a 56, 55% time on ground, so he didn't have a lot of time on ground. Kicked the goal. He looked okay, but he's going to be one of those players, and he's not cheap. And he's going to be one of those players that's not going to score big points. He's not going to give you hundreds every week, okay? And he's going to take up that forward spot. So he's got job security, which is important. All right, looks like he does have that job security, but point wise, it's going to be a slow burn. Okay, you're going to wait a while for him to make some cash for you. And going down the order, who else did we have? That's pretty much it. Matt Crouch, he hardly played 15% time on ground, but he's getting a little bit older now. Actually, he had 5 kicks, 4 handballs in 15% time on ground. That's not a bad effort, actually. That's actually quite good. 9 touches in 15% time on ground. He's a magnet. But again, I wouldn't touch him. Okay, we move on to the St Kilda and Essendon game. Now, this was a good game. My players starred in this game, okay? Now, we look at St Kilda. Rowan Marshall, 155 Supercoach points. And who was he up against? Well, he was up against Sam Draper and Peter Wright. Okay, he was virtually... Look, hitouts only 18. He didn't get many hitouts. He's not a hitout merchant. Like, Draper had 29 hitouts. He only had 18. Okay, it's not a... Rowan Marshall is about what he does around the ground, okay? That's where he's valuable, not in his hitouts. So he looked really good. I was very happy with Rowan Marshall. Now, Mason Wood had a day out. A lot of people were asking about Mason Wood. He did look good, all right? But he has mid-only status, okay? So I don't think you can put him in your midfield. Good player for draft. And actually, I got him in my draft as well. I killed it in the draft. Okay, so Mason Wood, 128. Who else do we have? Now, one player that did catch my eye is Wanganeen Milera, all right? He had a few disposal efficiency, actually 69%, so he went pretty bad by foot. He had 20 kicks and 3 handballs. He was very impressive. These are high, 20 and 3. I'm actually considering him in my midfield as a mid-pricer. I mean, his role was, look, 107 fantasy points. You can tell that's a big game. If he went around about 80% disposal efficiency, he would have got about 120. Everyone would have said, "Well, we'll have to get him." He only went at not 69, so it wasn't that good, but still scored the 91 points. Took a lot of kick-ins. Actually, I'm going to have a look in a minute how many kick-ins he took, but the problem was he didn't play on from those kick-ins. He just kicked them out without playing on it much. Well, that's what I noticed. I'm going to have a look just to make sure, just to clarify. But he looked very impressed with him. He has virtually the Sinclair role. Okay. Speaking of Sinclair, what happened? He played a lot of midfield. I mean, he did go in defence, but it looks like Wangari Milera's got that role. So I was very impressed with Wangari Milera, and he'll have DPP. So it's a player to consider, okay, if you're looking for that, and he'll be a pod, all right, because he's only got mid status, and in round 6 you can just switch him to the back line. Something to think about. Now, Jack Steele, just ignore this game, all right? Jack Steele, 17 touches, 9 tackles. He was just running around the park. He was just taking it. He was coming down. Okay, he was taking it easy. All right, didn't have not much time on ground. 64% time on ground. He'll go to 80 when the game starts, and a score of 84. He hardly did anything. Still laid 9 tackles. He's a machine. Okay. Now, who else is of interest here? Hunter Clark. All right, he was off my radar last week. He's completely off now. Okay, not much time on ground. 50% time on ground. All right, scored. 78%. Why am I looking at the disposal efficiency for? Okay, he had 78% time on ground. And Steele had 81%. Okay, that makes sense. Because he's an 80%. It'd be only 64% efficiency. So yeah, but Steele, don't worry about Steele's game. Okay, it's just a practice game for him. There are players that you don't have to look at practice games. So Steele's one of them. He doesn't star in practice games. He waits for the big games. Okay, so Hunter Clark, 78% time on ground, 24 disposals, got a bit of the ball, 50% efficiency. That's not good enough. So not interested. Who else do we have here? We had Jack Sinclair, as I was talking about, 90% time on ground, 90%, 21 disposals, only 59 points. It's not the same Jack Sinclair. We might get him cheap later on, so if you want to watch, and that's if he gets his roll back, because it looks like Wanganeen Malera's got it. Okay. And Winhager, did he play? I think he played for 2 seconds. He got injured, poor bloke. Okay, what happened to him? Knocked to his wrist. Quarter 1, iced up. So he started, but got injured. Okay, and that's it for St Kilda. Now we move on to Essendon. Okay, now everyone, just calm it down. My boy, he was in 1% of teams when I picked him. Everyone laughed at me. Okay, on chat forums they were laughing. They were saying, "How could you pick Ridley? What is wrong with you? He's no good." Well, just calm it down, everybody. You just saw him now. He's in 5% of teams and moving up. His role is beautiful. He looks very good. He's locked. He's locked in my team. He was locked from day one. I had Ridley and I had Hickey, both at 1%. Unfortunately, Hickey's injured, so I can't get him now. But Ridley's still in my team. Now, the next one to take note of was Settlefield. Okay, 25 touches, 87% time on ground. I think 50% was in the midfield. Last week it was 70%. He looks the goods. He's only 350k. He'll be a stepping stone to your Olivers or to your Lairds if you don't have them. So I wouldn't call him a keeper. Okay, he's not. Well, even though if he scores 119s, he will be. But I don't think he's going to be a keeper. But he'll do enough damage in your midfield to rack up some points and also make some cash. So looks good. My mate Swizz, okay, from Supercoach Insiders, he said Setterfield was in his team last week, and he was very upset that he went big because now people are going to get him. Well, it was a good pick if you start at Setterfield and you pick this. That's not a bad effort. Okay, now Zach Merritt does what Zach Merritt does. Okay, so he's a tag risk. Okay, because he's probably their best player. Or best midfielder, all right? So he's going to always have that tag risk. But when he's not tagged, he's a Jet. McGrath looked good in defence, although his kicking efficiency was only 59. But he looked good in defence. But I don't think I'll be able to start a player like McGrath, especially you want a top 6 at his price. So he's not going to be one of those top 6s or top 8s. Who else is... Well, Martin, I was impressed with last week. Impressed again, but he's not a player for your team. 102k, he was good, not at the current price. Now, Draper is on everyone's lips, okay? People wanted to... we've lost Lysette, okay? Why are we talking about Lysette still? Just calm it down. Okay, but anyway, Draper up at 29 hitouts. You get 29 hitouts and only score 80, where a player gets 18 hitouts and scores 155. See the difference, okay? You can see the difference there. Draper is more like a player, a bit like who can I compare him to? It's very hard to compare to someone more like a Wits, okay, where he doesn't do much around the ground, although he does have more mobility than Wits, but he doesn't win enough hitouts. 29 is not enough, whereas a Wits would win 40 and get his points, because Wits doesn't do much around the ground either. Whereas a player like Marshall only gets 18 hitouts, still scores 155, because all the work he does is from around the grounds. So Draper is a pass for me, okay? He might go 90 this year, maybe, all right? But he's sharing the ruck. That's a problem. And his time on ground has increased, 80%. It's not bad. His engine's improved a bit. But how good is he going to be? I don't know. Who else is there? Redmond, okay, is another one that's on people's radar. He scored 73, had 17 disposals. The player in defence, in Essendon's defence, if you're going to get one, is Ridley. He's got the central role, okay? The role that I really like. So Ridley's got it. So he's the man. Davey Jr., okay, good for the bench. 117k, okay? His disposal efficiency was only at 46. So if he increased that and went better than that, that's not a bad effort, because he had 13 touches. For a small forward, 13 touches is huge. So I liked him. Okay, I liked him a lot, but just for the bench. You can't put him on field. Is there anyone else that's Supercoach relevant? Well, there's Parrish, okay, and he was tagged, okay. Who tagged him? Tagged by Bytel, all right. So, and only scored 54. Actually, when I say Merritt is a tag option, well, looks like Parrish is the one that copped the tag. So maybe I was wrong. Maybe they get that tag Parrish instead. But after the game, he had a ice pack on his calf. That doesn't mean anything, but it still means something, okay? So just be wary of him, okay? Looked like his calf was all iced up. So just be careful, buyer beware. And who else do we have? Archie Perkins, as I predicted with his player review, only scored 53. Mind you, he scored 80 fantasy points, but 53 Supercoach points. Had 17 touches, went at 52%. It's not enough, okay? And that's pretty much it. Who else do we have that's of any relevance? Tipper Windy, if you're interested, but I wouldn't touch him. 200k, 27 points. His role's no good. Yeah, that's it for this game. Okay, we now move over to the Sydney versus Carlton game. Okay, let's go to Sydney. Gulden, 188 Supercoach points. 45 disposals at 71% with 85% time on ground. The boy's a jet. Okay, he looks so good. How do you not start him? All right, how do you fit him into your team? Who are you going to take out? It's so difficult. Okay, so is it a trap? Is another question. Well, he had 70% time on ground last week when Mills played. Mills didn't play this week, and he still had time on ground in the midfield. So is he going to play in this midfield? Well, you had two looks at him now. Both times he played in the midfield. So what are we going to do? Wait for another week? Just get him. Okay, don't think about it. Okay, take the risk. All right, sometimes you got to take the risk. You've seen 2 games. That's enough. He looks so good. And this is the Phantom's boy. And the Phantom had him as his boy a long time ago. Claimed him a long time ago, and he was right. And who else impressed? Parker, I don't think he's going to be in your teams yet. Blakey, that was injured, supposedly, okay? Well, he had glandular fever. People were saying half a season he'll be out for. Well, guess what? He was playing in a practice game. So, and that ruined any chance that Lloyd had of scoring. So virtually, Lloyd now becomes Supercoach irrelevant, okay? Because Blakey's back. So Blakey might have done you a favour by coming back early if you were going to plan on picking up Lloyd. Who else? We had Laddams in the ruck, which I'll get to in a minute about the ruckman. Forget about Laddams, all right? it's more. Mind you, he had 56% time on ground. Let's have a look at the other ruckman, McAndrew, who had 38% time on ground, had 10 hitouts. Okay, only scored 32 points. He didn't do much. Okay, he's not going to be one of those. If he averages 32, let me tell you how much money he's going to make. All right, he's going to make 25k. Is what he's going to make by round 7. I don't even know. I was going to field him. I was going to put him on my bench and just say, let him. I'd rather have a playing rookie on the bench. At least he can make some cash. Now I'm considering maybe I'm not interested. Maybe I might just have a 102k rookie who's not playing because it's the same thing. Why waste 20k extra at the start of the year just to make 20k extra later on? I don't think it's worth it. I might as well just have the 102k GWS rookie on the bench. So it's something to think about. If he scored 50s, okay, it's fair enough, but 32, it's just not good enough. But he only had 30% time on ground, but he just didn't. I don't know. He's a good kid. He's 210 centimeters. He's huge. But it's something you got to consider. If you can fit him in your team, okay, put him in your team. All right, on the bench. But if you need 20k and you need some cash, don't worry about it. It's not that important. Let's get back up to the top here. So Chad Warner, okay, he looked good, but Gulden's taking the limelight now. Okay, Chad Warner and Gulden together, they're going to be Jets. Warner, he looked good, but 24 touches. I mean, that's good enough. But geez, Gulden 45 touches, unbelievable. They were even tagging him at one stage. He was that good. Now Isaac Heaney, he just gets points for doing nothing. Okay, he just stands there and he gets points. He got 81 points again just for standing there, kicking 1 goal free. 81 points. Okay, he's a point machine. But there's much better options this year in the forward line. Who else was Supercoach relevant? Let's have a look. People were talking about where is he? Rowbottom. All right, they're talking about Rowbottom, but it looks like Rowbottom's lost the gig to Errol Gulden. Okay, so Rowbottom could be out of favour now. Who else? We had Lloyd, which we spoke about, and McAndrew, which we spoke about. And that's it for Sydney. Now let's talk about Carlton. All right, now this game was good too. Okay, I mean it was the same game, so just coming down. I mean it was good to watch Carlton too, I should say. Now Doherty, there was a question: who do we get, Doherty or Sard? Well, Doherty outscored Sard by 90 points. Okay, both similar time on ground. Sard had 81% time on ground, Doherty 87% time on ground. But the difference was Doherty's role. He's gone higher up the ground. He's sort of playing a kick behind the ball now. He's not playing. He is playing a defensive role, but more or less a kick behind the ball all the time. His role is so good. He's virtually a lock. You need to have him in your team. He's a lock. He's got the perfect role, and he's a very similar role to what Stewart's got. And both of them kick behind the ball, both high up the ground. And Ridley seems to have a very similar role. So all 3 of them look like locks. Or 3 of them. Now, Hewitt, we don't talk about Hewitt on this channel, okay? We don't chat about Hewitt, so I'm going to not talk about Hewitt because what he did to me last year, just calm it down. We don't talk about Hewitt. Okay, next. Chera was one to note, but what happens when Walsh comes in? Okay, Chera could be a problem. Okay, so Chera, not much of a Supercoach relevance this year, I don't think so. Who else? We had Sard, which we spoke about. Sard took a lot of the kick-ins as well. But Doherty stole the show. We had Cowan. And we had Sincotta. Apparently you say it's Sincotta. Okay, that's the way you pronounce it. I've been told this by Damo. He tweeted, he says, it's not Chincotta, it's Sincotta. So Sincotta it is. Okay, so Sincotta, 16 touches. Very quiet in the first half. All right, I hardly saw him. But in the second half, he came to life. Okay, so who gets the gig? Sincotta or Cowan? Cowan 10 touches. I'm actually hoping that it's Sincotta because he's cheaper. I saved 20k or 16k, so I'd rather it be Sincotta. So let's hope Sincotta gets the gig. Although Cowan has a deadly left foot, okay, or right foot. I don't know what he kicks, but he's got a good kick. So one of them two, they're both good enough to put on your bench, okay. I would put them both, one of them on the bench. Unless they both play, then you can put them both on the bench. But I don't think both will play. Now, Hollands looked good. Okay, had 14 kicks of free handballs, so kicked the handball ratio very high. Had a lot of time on ground, but didn't score much. So it could be another bench player you put on your bench. And who else do we have here? And that's pretty much it. There was no one else of interest. Yeah, and that's it. Well, if you, after Pittonet, okay, as a ruckman, had 21 hit outs, 65 points, not good, okay? And I've got him in my draft as well. I just covered down my draft team. Well, he's sort of ruined. I had no ruckman left. That's it for today. We're going to watch some games. Now, the games start going by my clock here, they start very soon. They're going to start in 1 hour's time. So hopefully this will be up and you won't be watching it because you'll be too busy watching the game. But this will be up soon. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. And remember one thing. It's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. Ciao for now.